Multitude of talent in all distance races, but particularly in this one at the moment. Barega and Kajelcha, US-based Ethiopian now, of course, and he will have enjoyed watching Sifan Hassan win the 1500 earlier on. The two of them in the same training group. Paul Chilimo, the American. Actually, Kajelcha and Chilimo were in that great race with Mo Farah here 2 years ago, and either of those two thought they might win. Gebriwet, watch out for him. They're just going past him, not quite sure why, because he might even be the pre-race favourite. Henrik Ingebrigtsen. What about Joshua Cheptegei, in great form this year? Surely he's got a great chance going to the World Championships. Andy Butchart, personal best 13:06, the Brit. And then what about McSwain? Stuart McSwain, the Australian, in the form of his life across the gamut of distances from 1500 up to 5,000 metres. So Barega, world indoor silver medalist. He's still only 19, hard to believe, isn't it? Seems to have been around ages. Kajelcha himself, only 22. 12.5 laps of the track, and they haven't asked for anything too silly, which I think is good. Not all of these men here will contest the 5,000 metres at the World Championships by any stretch of the imagination. But for tonight, it's the Diamond League trophy that counts, and a bit of pride and a bit of confidence building, certainly. So they'll settle down. Ryan Gregson, not often you see him, the Australian, doing a bit of pacemaking. 1500-metre specialist, of course. Let's see how he gets on. The field already nicely strung out. And, well, I think, you know, if they can, Tim, if they can, you know, keep it within 13-minute range, and then maybe something good over the last couple of thousand metres, maybe the last 1,000 metres, then we could see something fast. But as how many cat and mouse races have we seen this year and in other years?
Well, exactly right, but the pace, as you mentioned correctly, Steve, has been requested as is a sensible one. 2:35 for the first kilometres, 2:55 tempo. It's quick, but not insanely fast. And it's quick enough to reduce it single file. That is a perfect echelon, isn't it, of runners. They're stretched out behind Gregson. But 6 men in this field have broken 13 minutes. I'm sure that is the target here tonight. I'll be very interested to see how Andy Butchart goes here, the Briton back in about 7th place, who reckons he's in sub 13-minute shape, I understand. Ben True there in about 6th place in the light blue, the American. I had a chat with him at lunchtime. He said he's spent 6 weeks injured middle of the summer, so he doesn't think he's in wonderful shape. He's had long Achilles problems. Let's see how long he can stay with this pace. By just 1 centimetre with his 4th round effort.
Well, in the men's 5,000 metres, Ryan Gregson just got 10 out of 10. Spot on 2:35 for the first 1,000 metres. He hasn't done this before, but you wouldn't think so, and he's keeping going. He's going to try and get to 5 laps at a similar pace. Ben True, Andy Butchart tucked in there. Cheptegei got up there very early on. There he is in the all-dark strip behind him, Mburu. And kind of new name this year, Stanley Waitaka Mburu. Paul Chilimo, very close as well. Interestingly, though, Barega and Balu and Bekele and Kajelcha much further back have sat off the pace here, and not even in those top 10 places. Look at them right at the back. Barega is actually last behind Ingebrigtsen, and Gebriwet is just ahead of him, and Kajelcha is just ahead of him. So interesting tactics from the top Ethiopians, but Gregson keeping the pace going at the front.
Julian Wanders there, the European record holder at the half marathon from last February. And Marcus Riffel there, and Thomas Wessinghager with the silver locks watching. Great Swiss and German stars of years gone by, Steve. But I know that Wanders, had a chat with him at lunchtime. He said he's hoping to run a personal best and maybe even threaten Marcus Riffel's Swiss record of 13:07. And certainly Stewie McSwain, I think, feels he can go down below 13 minutes. He ran really well in Paris, remember, 3:31 for 1500 last Saturday. That's useful speed to bring into 5,000.
I think the danger for, you know, Kajelcha, Gebriwet and Barega is Cheptegei, because Cheptegei is reputedly in really, really good shape, and he's going with a pace here, and it's getting stretched out, and Cheptegei at the minute is about 15 metres or more ahead of that group of Ethiopians. So the Ugandan probably doesn't know that, because he probably thinks they're all lined up behind him. Chilimo's just moving up behind him, and others are happy to sit in the train. But if Cheptegei were to really go off the front once the pacemaking starts to drop, although it is starting to slow a little bit, and maybe the other third. Gregson's job is done. He did slow a little bit, so 2:38 for the second 1,000 metres, but still decent pace. Tiernan, his Australian counterpart, has taken it on. Cheptegei still leading, and the big three at the back of that group there, they moved ahead of Ingebrigtsen because the gaps were appearing. So Gebriwet, Kejelcha and Barega happy to just watch, happy to sit off this. There's Kejelcha, Gebriwet right behind him, Barega behind him, and it's Cheptegei, who of the big names, who's more interested in the pace here. And what's happened here is Tiernan's just picked it up a little notch after Gregson dropped out, doing a good job here. So the pace still right on that 13-minute mark, thereabouts, and there's the gap for the first time. There's a gap between Cheptegei and the rest of the field. It'd be really interesting to see whether it's a long way out, obviously, at this point, but as they come round this time with 6 to go, Tim, just a bit of a barrier. Well, the pacemaker has dropped out. Tiernan got to 3,000 metres in 7:51, another 2:38. Again, just started slow. And Cheptegei, as I suspected, left out in front. Kejelcha, Barega, Gebriwet, a long way back. The chasing pack now, after Chilimo was labouring and continues to labour. Bekele took it on. Now Kejelcha, for the first time, gets interested because he can see with 4 laps to go, there's a 10-metre gap between Cheptegei and the others. Barega follows, Gebriwet follows. What an interesting race here from these three. Interesting tactics. Now they're starting to wind it up, but they're a good 20-25 metres behind Cheptegei, the world cross-country champion, who's in good form, but is he hanging himself out there to be chased down by the big names? But they've got a bit of work to do.
Well, I love to see this, Steve. I mean, I'm a cross-country man to go back to my roots, and he's a tough competitor, and I'm kind of hoping they've misjudged it here because he's running really strongly. He's got that lead, and they're all watching each other's here, the big names, the established, more established 5,000-metre runners. But, you know, we mustn't underestimate Cheptegei. Have they underestimated him? He is a 12:59 performer. He ran 13:03 in Lausanne. That's what, 25 metres, maybe a bit more, that gap. Kejelcha doesn't look like the man to lead the chase for me.
No, not Kejelcha, but maybe they're taking turns. Barega picked it up, but they realised Cheptegei's stolen a march. I said it was a danger about 5 laps ago, because if you sit that far back, you can't see what's going on, and he was drawn away by the pacemaker. The gaps appeared, so they've got to work ever so hard, and you're right, one of them's got to sacrifice themselves to get the group back to Cheptegei, because with every 100 metre that passes, he gets closer to the finish, quite obviously. And the gap at the moment, Tim, is not closing. They could close that with a massive last 500-600 metres, but they've got to start pretty soon.
Well, the middle pace of this race was strange. I mean, it was slow. The opening kilometre, 2:35, was spot on. Look at that one, 2:35. So it's gone 2:35, 2:38, 2:37, 2:35. Cheptegei is maintaining that gap at 25 metres. He's able to watch up on the big screen occasionally if he wants, the gap behind him, but he's still running strong, and he's got just over 2 laps to run, and there doesn't seem to be an awareness in the group that they've got a very strong runner, and in fact, Steve, he's stretched it by another 6 or 8 metres over the last 200. He's kicking in, he's kicking away.
Kemele moves past the others because Kejelcha was looking around way too much. The others are faltering now, but that little group there, group of 6 actually. Now Barega moves to the front of it. Gebriwet hasn't had a turn yet. He hasn't even thought about it, but now we're into 650 metres left, and Cheptegei is moving nicely, looks relaxed, looks good. Of course the kick will come, but that's a big gap for them to close. A good 4 seconds, maybe even 5 seconds. Cheptegei continuing, if anything, to go away, and they've got to start moving. Barega finally trying to get things going. Kejelcha still in that group. They've dropped, which one have they dropped? And Buru, he's the only one who dropped off it.
I'm astonished. I mean, Cheptegei is strong and fast. He's run 8:07 for 2 miles this year. He's run 26:49 for 10,000 metres. He goes through now on 11:58. The pack are coming through now, 5 of them on 12:02, 12:03. They're 5 seconds back.
Yeah, 4.5 seconds by my reckoning, and Gebriwet is away. Barega follows, Kejelcha follows, and they will start to reel him in, but do they have time? Can Cheptegei hang on? They're moving quicker than he is. Kajelcha struggling there, but those long legs of his hanging on to Barega and Gebriwet, and they're closing fast. Cheptegei is still going well. It's 15 meters now, maybe 12 meters. And Barega, with Gebriwet following, gritted teeth. Kajelcha's got no chance. Cheptegei hurting. Can he raise his game? The crowd want him to win this. He will deserve it. Gebriwet chasing hard, but Cheptegei's found something else. He goes away again. Cheptegei hanging on for the victory. What a great run. It's going to be under 13 minutes. Cheptegei wins. Gebriwet second, and then a big sprint for Caleb, just getting out-kicked by Kameli for the next place. Kajelcha completely out of it.
Well, Cheptegei judged it absolutely perfectly. His last lap, 59.41. I'm sure that Gebriwet running his last lap at about 55, but oh, all too late.
Good run, though. Good race.
Oh, brilliant when you're being chased down like that.
And, you know, I just wonder what the tactics were there for the others. You know that the race is going to be running around about 13-minute pace, but to sit so far off, and yes, maybe it was, okay, let's test our speed in the last 1,000 meters as we head to a World Championships, but you want to come and win the race. You don't want to be caught out in that way. And Cheptegei is going to be in Doha, is going to be a massive threat. He's shown he can hang out there in front and win. In such good form, that new personal best. The hard way as well. He ran the last 4 or 5 laps completely on his own.